Werner. Mustafa. Champion. Anila. RTC. Sanjana. Aditya. Abdullah. Abdullah. Is there NBME 32 PDF? I mean, someone's going to get that, right? Azik. Guys, give the stream a like as you come in. Sabika. How's it going, Sabika? Thanks for being a member, Sabika. NBME 26 is 40% after completing UWorld. Aisha, what's going on? Diego, what's happening? Robert, what's happening? Aditya, you want to know how you can improve your stamina for the real deal? Should you write 2 NBMEs back to back? Absolutely not. Or UWorld self-assessment NBME or free 120 with an NBME in the same day? Never. Never do that. Only ever do a single NBME. A single NBME on a single day and review it that day. And then the review can spill into the next day. Only ever do it like that. In terms of your stamina on the real deal, you'll caffeinate, but I wouldn't say adrenaline, but just when you know it's the real licensing exam, you're not going to struggle the way you might imagine. You'll be perfectly fine with stamina on the real deal. It's going to be the fastest 8 hours of your life, the real deal. It's the fastest 8 hours of your life. Like you'll literally walk in there and then like it's like just done in a flash and you're like the whole day is gone. Moataz, what's going on? Michael Gayasi. Why are you saying want a tutoring service with a question mark? It sounds like you're advertising in the live feed, but then you say you want at least a 250 plus and 2CK. What's the track record like? So it's a bit confusing, but we wouldn't have anyone teach for us who's not getting at least a 260. That's pretty standard. KQPEY, can you explain what you meant? That someone from Sudan would have an advantage over a white dude in the match? Are you serious? Like, of course. I mean, we don't need to get political. We don't need to get political, but that's pretty well known in the United States, especially in certain states, right? We're not getting political. I'm saying, like, if you have a 255 and you're from Ivory Coast, you're going to match easily over a white dude like me who's got a 265 applying to the same program. That's pretty well established. So this notion that like IMGs are at a disadvantage, that only applies probably if, and I'm saying this with no evidence whatsoever. This is just my opinion. If you're an IMG and you're applying, let's say from India, disadvantage. Pakistan, disadvantage. Because there's like too many smart people applying. They're used to that. Like they're all about like diversity, equity, and inclusion in the United States. So if you're from Congo, if you're from Democratic Republic of the Congo and you have a 269, you're going to get in over like some Indian dude with a 269. I probably should have had like a sip of water before this live stream. Oh well. Ibrahim, can you let me know what's the normal progression? NBME's 25 to 31. Well, as you know, 32 is out, so it should be 26 to 32 online. When you mean normal progression, what do you mean by normal progression? What's your question, Ibrahim? How good are the UWorld self-assessments as assessment tools? They're actually pretty accurate, but we don't need to do them because the NBMEs are accurate. So the UWorld self-assessments are actually pretty accurate. The reason I don't prescribe UWorld self-assessments, I'll tell you why. Because the NBMEs are legit, and if you are, let's say, scoring well in the NBMEs, and then you take a UWorld self-assessment and you do shitty, then we can't ignore it. Then it's like, well, fuck. Now we've got to do like 5 extra NBMEs, like, let's do 19 and earlier now, right? Let's do like 15 and 19 now to rebuild our confidence and reassurance because we did shitty on a UWorld self-assessment. So like, that's what happens if you do poorly on a UWorld self-assessment. You can just stick to the NBMEs. There's more than enough. You just do 20 through 32. That's enough. Now, of course, when we come out with our own self-assessments eventually, I'll be like, yeah, of course, do Mehlman self-assessments. I mean, I'm joking, but like at the moment, in terms of the QBank self-assessments, the NBMEs are sufficient, so they're optional. And when we come out with our own self-assessments, I'll probably tell you the same thing. I'll be like, well, you can do them, they're optional, but the NBMEs are what you want to use. Rashida, what's going on? Ernie Chakri, what's going on? Jazz Raghu, you're from England, California, and Queensland. Where in Queensland? Brisbane? Jazz Raghu? Zeke, I'm having a lot of trouble with stats, and if I ignore them, will I be able to get a 240 plus? Not really. Like, you need to be able to answer basic math, basic stats. That's like expected. So like, you can miss maybe some difficult stats, but you can't miss like sensitivity, specificity, NPV, PPV, number needed to treat, number needed to harm. You should know what a p-value means. If you do Mehlman QBank, you're going to understand p-values very well. Some of you who are doing Mehlman QBank, we loaded that stuff up with like p-value stuff. I wrote a lot of p-value questions. Christian Sunny, and of course the Biostats course, we do a lot of p-values. Christian Sunny, what tips do you have for the new step 2 forms? The questions have contradictory information in regards to the answer. A lot of time I see a contradiction to an answer and I hop on it. Well, that's the annoying thing for even the NBME exams for 2CK and 3 because guidelines shift. Like, how many NBME questions do you think exist where like they've somehow related to pneumococcal vaccine 65 and older, but the new guidelines are 50 and older? So it's like guidelines shift. That's the annoying thing about 2CK and 3. So just be up to date on new information and you'll just do the best you can because everybody else is going to be in a similar situation and therefore it cancels out. So if something is like weird and you encounter a dilemma and you're not sure because you know the new stuff, well, someone else is going to be in that same situation. They usually don't play trivia with stuff that's borderline. Like, for example, if they want to assess the new colonoscopy guidelines starting at age 45, they're not going to play trivia where they're like, the dude's 48 and you're like, well, do we do it at 45 or 50? Like, they're not going to, it'll be like there's only one answer and it has to be the correct answer where the other 4 are definitely wrong. And you're like, wow, they're assessing it at 45 now. There you go. Don't ask the same questions twice. Let's see. You scroll back up. Assad Ali, 70% correct. You on USMLE step 1. Can I pass on the NBMEs? You mean? Yeah, that's enough. You need 3 NBMEs at least 68 plus, but do all 30 to 32 and free 120. Champion, how to best use the genetics PDF. Just go through it. Genetics PDF is obviously hard. That's probably the hardest PDF, genetics. The reason it's hard is because when I was making it, I didn't have P = 1 for a lot of the Hardy-Weinberg questions. So P plus Q = 1, so I was annoying. And that's right, Assad, you retract your message. But you like embarrassed that you like asked a question and then I answered it and now you're like, I'm going to retract it? Like, Like, whom do you think actually cares about your question that you asked in the live stream? No one cares. But you can do the genetics PDF, but I have said that it's harder than real USMLE. So if you can do all the questions in the genetics PDF, you'll do very well on genetics and USMLE, all the Hardy-Weinberg stuff. Armin, when should you take an NBME after how many questions of Mehlman QBank? You're currently 3 blocks with 60% through the QBank, NBME 26 with 50% before starting Mehlman QBank, but after half of UWorld. Finish the QBank before you do any more NBMEs. Don't touch another NBME until you finish QBank. And don't worry about your percentages in QBank. Just finish the QBank. Jay Hammond. What do you recommend for shelf exam prep? Just CMS forms? You're going to be doing the step 2 QBank. You can do the subject-specific questions from step 2 QBank. You can do our PDF in that subject. So if you're on surgery, you would do the 2CK Mehlman QBank surgery questions. You do the surgery PDF. You do the surgery playlist on the YouTube. And yes, you would do all 8 CMS forms for surgery twice. And as I've articulated, within 2 to 3 months, we're going to have a mini shelf bank out for all the rotations. So we'll have 1,000+ question surgery QBank. Okay, IM, EM, FM, Surge, Peds, Obs-Gyn, Neuropsych. Armin, you just purchased all Mehlman content. Great stuff, but I am more comfortable with PDFs than Anki, at least for now. Are there any advantages to the Anki cards? Speed. Speed. Most people can't read. If you can read, that's fine. Most people can't read. So if I were to give you a page of information and have you read it, and I were to say, can you tell me what you read on this page? Most of you would be like, no, I can't remember anything I just read. Okay, that's most of you. So the Anki cards help you with repetitions, spaced repetition that way. So you see the card, you try to remember it the best you can. You forget. 4 minutes later, you see it again. You try to remember it, you forget. 8 minutes later, you see it again. So that's important for a lot of people. People like that. Mahdi Al-Salawi. Tell me the ABCs to get 265 plus on 2CK. I'm starting to prepare for November 2025. 8 hours a day, give me resources, books, QBank, videos. Estimated period for 265 plus on 2CK. The starting point is Mehlman 2CK QBank. That's your starting point. So you're going to do the whole QBank, and while you're doing it, you do November. So you can do 80 questions per day, and then you can do Mehlman Anki in the evenings. That's the greatest score augmentation. That's the greatest score augmentation, the shortest amount of time. Okay. Obviously, you got the YouTube videos, but if you do the Mehlman Anki with Mehlman 2CK QBank, you're going to get the greatest augmentation score in the shortest amount of time. Okay. I mean, that's the truth. So if you want to do an alternative, or if you want to do the free PDFs, I mean, they're 11 out of 10, but it's not as fast. Okay. It's not as fast, but they're 11 out of 10, the free PDFs. Olivia, when you say to complete 20 through 31 for comp, well, now it's 20 to 32. You started with 20 without time and checking the answers as you go. Definitely don't do that. No, it's not fine. I'm leaving some between time. No, you're going to do all the NBMEs as though they're the real thing. Never do them like tutor mode. So if you already did 20, the way you're going to, after you finish the entire review of 20, you're going to do 21 like it's a real, like you're actually sitting at timed. All 4 blocks in a row, not reviewing as you go. You do all 4 blocks, you grade yourself, then you start the review. Maybe you finish 2 blocks of the review that day, and then the second day, you finish the review, 3rd and 4th blocks. That's how you're going to do the NBMEs. Never do like tutor mode NBME stuff. No. That's a waste. I get very, very annoyed if somebody comes to me having wasted NBMEs that way, and I've had that happen. Like if you came to me and you're like, I did 20 through 25 tutor mode, just like checked as I went, I'd be like, that's cool. You wasted, because we can't rely on those percentages. You didn't do them the way you're supposed to. Never do that. If you're looking for learning, like if the reason you want to do them in quote unquote tutor mode, the NBMEs, it's because you're looking to learn still. That means you're supposed to be on QBank. You're supposed to use QBank to learn. Then you use the NBMEs for assessment. And obviously, you'll learn from the NBMEs, but you're using them for assessment. So do QBank in untimed tutor random. Abdul Ram said, what's the best way to study your PDFs for step one? In the evenings after you finish your QBank blocks, and just read as many pages as you can. You can chop out, let's say, 20 pages per evening. And if you're going to, let's say, do random mode in QBank, which I usually prescribe, you can do the PDFs with the YouTube playlist and subject specific concurrently. In other words, let's say you do 40 questions, 4 blocks of 10 untimed tutor random for Mehlman QBank, and then in the evening, you would do 20 pages from cardio PDF, 10 cardio questions from the YouTube playlist. And over, let's say, the next week, that's your cardio week. So you do every day in that week, you've done random questions from QBank, not just cardio. But in the evening, that's your cardio evening of the PDF and the cardio playlist on YouTube. So you have mixed random with a subject-specific phase, 2 phases of the day. And then you can go to pulmonary and then go to renal, etc. That's one way to do it. What would you do if you were not a doctor? I would do nothing but kanji 12 to 14 hours a day. That's what I would do. I would just study kanji 14 hours a day. I talked about this like 2 live streams ago. It's someone asked, like, what will you do when you retire? And I would just sit and study kanji 14 hours a day. Because they have kanji national exams here, where there's like certain percentiles of like the number of kanji people know. And I would just try to I would just learn kanji all day. Maybe I'd start a YouTube channel on kanji. Whatever happened to that dude, that weird dude from like medicine? Whatever happened to that controversial dude from USMLE? Oh, he got into kanji. He started a kanji channel. Abbasin Khamed. Dr. Mike, I'm new on USMLE journey. How long reading a QBank block explanation should take? 1 hour per block maximum. So you do 6 minutes per question, a minute to do the question, and then 5 minutes for the explanations, a minute per answer choice. So maximum hour, so 45 minutes to an hour per block. You just read everything. Some of you will be a lot faster than that. Okay? Some of you will be a lot faster, doing a half an hour, less. Christian, what tips do you have for the new step 2 forms? You already asked that. Swagato, how different is step 1 and step 2 CK as far as question type? Completely different. Step 1 is way more simple and shorter overall. Step 2, way more complex and longer. Are there long questions on step 1? Yes. But we're talking like averages. Like the average step 2 question is way longer, way more lab values. Embria, for the CMS form, is sufficient to do them offline? Question mark. Yes, it's sufficient. You don't have to do them online. You can do those tutor mode. I was saying the NBMEs do like real thing. You can do the like all 50 questions in a row and then just review them kind of like in a casual timed, not timed, like a self-paced mode. Don't worry about time for the CMS forms. You believe there are 55 at the moment, also for step 2, specific PDFs for all of them. At least do the internal medicine PDF. I would also look at the Obs Guide and Repro PDF. I label what's like step 1 versus 2 CK3 in the Repro Obs Guide PDF, but it's a combined PDF. Fatima Syed, you feel so demotivated after struggling with CBSE. You keep hearing step is way harder, and most of it is guesstimating from people who struggle less than my So for CBSE and basic sciences, I literally just put out a reel on this like 2 days ago, where and of course the reels come from the live streams. So I talked about this, that the NBME questions are exactly the same as the real CBSE, which is exactly the same as the real step. So it's all escapism. This notion of that they're different somehow. It's all escapism. They're the same questions, and anyone who says that the questions are different, it's because they're not smart. Because anyone who's smart, they will just be like, yeah, it was just same as NBME, it's not a big deal. It's only people who are flailing, people who are like emotional head cases, right? Someone's like erratic, very scattered all over the place. Like, my dog is sick and my back hurts. And like, it's those types of people who they're the ones who would say that the exam's different from the NBMEs. It's like a psych issue. It's escapism, defense mechanism, low IQ stuff. Aditya, best way to revise NBMEs. Should we take notes? No. How to revise the concepts. You just do the NBMEs, learn the best you can. You don't have to take notes. I've said in the past, you can take screenshots of the incorrects, put them into Anki. I don't necessarily prescribe that anymore. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just learn the best you can. The same way from QBank, you don't have to take notes or make your own Anki. Just read and move on. Ibrahim Ferris. And then what percentages should I have as I'm progressing through the NBMEs before starting UWorld and after finishing UWorld? Well, that question doesn't make sense because you would do Mehlman QBank, not UWorld. So you have to educate yourself on how to get a score augmentation. This isn't like, 2024. This is 2025. You got to update yourself. You wouldn't do NBMEs before starting QBank. You do QBank first, and then you do the NBMEs. Moataz, Mamdo, NBME 9. Okay, so your scores 259, 230, 231, 230, 250. Exams October 20th. Okay. Month and a half. Your goal is 260 plus. Do you think I should postpone my exam? You said 4 days ago you got a 250. I'd want to know if you've done the CMS forms. I'd want to know, I'm guessing you did not do Mehlman QBank, but I'd want to know if you did the CMS forms. You got to do those. And I would blast through Mehlman QBank, truthfully. It's not like you're taking it this month, you're doing it next month. Abdullah, you're a fourth year med student. Chat moved on me when I was reading your question. I gotta scroll back up and find it. Fuck is it? Okay. You're a fourth year med student with ADHD, currently preparing for USMLE. You can't watch videos, but I can read and text. That's literally the opposite of what people experience with ADHD. Like you're saying you cannot watch videos, but you can do like text notes. That's like the opposite of most people. Most people like can't look at text, but they can watch videos. If you're saying that you can only do text stuff, but you can't watch videos, what should you do? Just do the PDFs then. What am I missing here? Julian Galea, you've been spamming the PDFs and just got an 88%, NBME 28, 91%, NBME 29, currently 2 weeks out. Very good. Wolf Parkinson Brown, that's hilarious. That's funny. Dr. Mike, I passed step 1, got 260 on 2CK, and only because I did your PDFs. Thank you so much. I still watch all your vids because you make them so engaging. Haha. That's cool. What Wolf Parkinson Brown? No, I won't go into that. Kali Carlo, you said you've done UWorld 3 times. Here we go. Third time, my score was 53%. Took NBME 25 last week. You got a 60%. What would you recommend to me? Should I do your QBank? Yes and no. I want to answer this like politically correct somewhat. If you've done UWorld 3 times and you're only getting if you're still not passing, I mean, it can be difficult to get your scores up the way you want them to go up. It's understandable, okay? If you do our QBank, I would say that that's probably a smart move because you've done UWorld 3 times. So you need to do more QBank. We can't have you wasting the NBMEs while you're still failing them. Okay, so regardless of whether you did UWorld once or 3 times, if you're failing the NBMEs, our prescription is you need to do more QBank. But you've done UWorld 3 times. So what are we going to do? If you do Mehlman QBank, that will get your scores up. But at the same time, I would really just try to absorb the most that you can from the QBank. That's what we want. Absorb the most that you can from the QBank. Do the best job you can on it. You only need to do it once, not 3 times, Mehlman QBank. Well, I passed step 1. I'd say 70% is thanks to your advice in PDS. What's the other 30%? Abdul Malik. You just ran the Sydney Marathon. That's cool. What's up in Tokyo? I'm not in Tokyo. I'm in Osaka. I almost went to Tokyo this week, but I'm in Osaka. Bilal, can you give us insight about U.S. clinical experience for IMGs with U.S. citizens, please? And which is more important in your opinion, research or clinical experience? Clinical experience is more important. You need a letter at an institution you want to go to. That's the aim. Okay? So that's got to be your aim. You say, I want to go to X location, X institution, and you try to match there by getting a letter from someone there. That's got to be your aim. Research is overblown. It's more niche. Okay? It's the clinical experience that's more important for your application overall. Ayushi, you have literally 0 basics. You want to write step 1 really bad. How much time it'll take? 3 to 4 months. And where to start and which discipline. You're going to do Mehlman QBank, 40, 80 questions. Actually, for you, because you say 0, I would do 40 questions per day, Mehlman QBank, 4 blocks of 10 untimed tutor random. And I would do the Mehlman Anki minimum 4 hours per evening. That's the greatest augmentation in the shortest amount of time. If you're really poor, okay? If you're poor and you worry about your rent and your phone bill and how much food costs, then you can do our PDFs and retain the best that you can from them, right? You can do those types of things. But I'm just telling you how to get the quickest augmentation and score. It's about speed. I mean, the Anki really fucking helped. That's the thing. And so, as I said, the PDFs are 11 out of 10. It's just most of you guys can't read. I say that anecdotal. Like I know I've had a lot of students where like they'll be like, "Yeah, I read the PDF," and I'm like, "Well, you don't remember anything." And then, so like everything you're getting wrong is right in the PDFs. Then they do the Anki and they can see the same thing like 9 times in like 20 minutes because they see the same card over and over and over again. And then they actually finally remember it. Kaylee Carla. I already read that. You posted the same comment. Ang, good to see you again. And you're stuck in I-50s and NBMEs. What should you do? Step 1. You need to be on Mehlman QBank. Don't touch another NBME. Sanjay Bathana Botla. Mehlman QBank Systemizer random. How to schedule my day. Step 1 QBank. What? How to schedule my day. Step 1 QBank. Do you mean like how to like go through the QBank? So just the first half of your day, the first phase of your day should be the questions. 40 to 80 on time tutor random. Then the evenings is when you can do the PDFs / Anki and videos. Syed, you got 68% and maybe 13. Your step 2s in 4 weeks. How to improve my scores? Did you do the CMS forms? Do the CMS forms and then give me 6, starting from 6, not 9. Mahmoud Hassan, if you have weak basics, what is the resource you should start with? Mehlman QBank. Christian Sunny, I'm talking about more questions where they say white plaque on the mouth that can't be scraped off and it's candida, or toxic synovitis, pain with passive flexion, normal inflammatory markers. Well, toxic synovitis / transient synovitis is the hip in a kid after viral infection. What is your question? Alma Sanchez, thank you for everything. You are the best. We are from Honduras and prep with all your resources. Interesting. I dated a girl from San Pedro Sula, like maybe 11 years ago. 12 years ago. She was like, come to San Pedro Sula. I'm like, yeah, let me get shot within the first week. That sounds like a great idea. No hablo español. It's like, that's a great idea. Let's get shot up in Honduras. It sounds great. She's like, it's safe. It's really safe in Honduras. It's not dangerous. Kali Carlo, you've said that like 6 times. I start on the top of the feed and I read my way down. So like if you ask the question 7 times, like I see it at the top, I don't go to the bottom. Muhammad Ahmed, hey doctor, can I pass step 1 without going through USMLE first aid book? The whole thing should just go through UWorld QBank. Man, could you imagine asking that question? It's a crazy question. Like, is this the first time you've ever, like, is this our first interface? Like, is this like the first point of contact you've had with any of my advice ever? Like, when did you arrive in terms of like seeing Mehlman content and Mehlman advice? That's so misguided. So you need to find better friends. This isn't 2014. So we don't use FA anymore for step 1 prep. Now look, you can use first aid, but if you want to take double the amount of time to study. Tao and Vikas, they're really, I mean, Tao's a really nice dude. Super happy, super nice. I've chatted with Tao like 12 years ago on Skype. Super nice, is one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And then Vikas is like very, very, very loquacious and garrulous and business minded. But this is business. Okay, this isn't like being friendly. This is like this is about like what's actually best for students now. And so Mehlman PDFs are gonna get your scores up more. All right. EJ, how many months do I need to prep from scratch, do you reckon? Are you in Australia? I would say 3 months for step 1, 4 months for step 2. Sheng Tao Wu. No, I don't agree with that. Sheng Tao Wu. You haven't even done our QBank. Like, who are you? Sheng Tao Wu says UWorld QBank, and then with like a caret, like greater than Mehlman? Or are you saying like do UWorld first, then go to Mehlman? If that's what you're saying, are you suggesting like do UWorld first, then go to Mehlman? But you haven't done our QBank. Anshuman Agrawal. Dr. Mike, if someone has finished UWorld QBank in very spaced out fragments, do you suggest resetting it or do amboss this time? Neither. You got to educate yourself. Mehlman QBank will increase your score more and faster. Olivia, thank you. Saika. Do you have wrong fucking answer in your bank explanations? I do not. I put out a reel on this like 4 days ago. That was an idea we had in the beginning to do that. I was going to do that in the beginning. But then I decided like a lot of people who use the bank are old school. And then also if we go to schools directly at some point, like right now we're just directly with students, you guys, but like at some point, if we do like a contract with a school where they have very like old school, no pun intended, admin who like can't handle that. They're like, no, you can't swear. We're offended. You can't swear. We prefer like old school, you know, that's how it is. So we don't have that in the QBank, but you have that on the YouTube. So you got distinct QBanks. You got 2 Mehlman QBanks you can do. You got the YouTube one, and then you got the written one, and they're unique and completely different. Yes, 433. What's the minimum passing criteria for the real step 1? 65%. Aditya, fastest, most efficient way to get 270 on 2CK. What would the timeline roughly look like? Mehlman QBank with Anki in the evenings. Mehlman YouTube. CMS forms. 6 through 8 double pass CMS forms. Free 120, 9 through 15. TS29. Hey Mike, hope you're doing well. How to start off 2CK prep duration 5 months. I just said. MHS VD. Mike, should we do the farm micro Anki for 2CK as well? No, you don't have to. You can remediate if you want to, but it's not mandatory. Some people do the farm, but the micro and biochem, like you don't have to. Not for 2CK3. Olivia, I will buy the QBanks. Thanks. We'll see. We go by what people do, not what they say. Salad rostrum. Is step 2 more buzzwordy than step 1? I passed step 1 recently, and there weren't very many buzzwords. I've heard many people say step 2 is more buzzwordy. I mean, it's going to be similar to the NBME. It's the same as the NBMEs. Occasionally there are some buzzwords, but some buzzwords you guys might not even know you encounter. Like there's an NBME question where they say cephalization of pulmonary vessels in a cardio question, which means that's very buzzy for pulmonary edema. And like the answer is pulmonary edema. And like a lot of people didn't know that that was even buzzy. So there's like, they're not going to say like orphan antinuclei. There might be like one question in history where they've said that. In history. How should we do the CMS forms? Just do the 50 questions and then review them all at the end. That's what I would do. Hader, Farouk, your graduation's 5 years ago. You haven't written any steps. Should I go for this journey? What are my chances? Not high. You would have to do all 3 steps within a year probably. But they don't like people who are that far out from graduation. But you'd have to get good scores. You'd have to pass step 1, get a high 2CK score, pass step 3, and you could actually have a chance. You just would have to have no entitlement. You can't like apply to like all these top programs and competitive specialties and think you're going to be like their choice of theirs. You just have to have non-entitlement, like apply broadly. Victoria, you just had step 1 and everything is different. It's patient charts, vagueness, all blocks, experimental. Not everything is different. Nothing resembles UOLD or NBMEs. That's not true, Victoria. It's the same as the NBMEs. I just talked about this. That's the view of someone who's emotionally erratic. It's like, holy shit, you just called me emotionally erratic. It's the same as the NBMEs. It's the same as the NBMEs. What you mean to say is that you found it difficult. There was a lot of stuff you didn't recognize. That's what you mean to say, because you weren't prepared enough. A lot of genetics and physiology or psychology, which is not within our study material. Yeah, it is. I have a genetics PDF. Do that. Zoma, can you play chess? Yeah, I can. I don't like, I never studied chess, but I was good growing up, but like I didn't like study it. Nihal, what's your option? What's your opinion? No, what's your opinion on taking? I don't think that, I don't know what you're asking. I don't think that that's a good idea. Global, I am done with your PDF. I am confident, but few of previous pass outs. I know yours. What are you reading? Speak English. I don't know what you're writing. Kavishka. Have you updated your PDFs recently? Like earlier this year. There's like certain things we have to update. Like I've talked about it, like pneumococcal age 50, not 65. Like there's things that we have to update. It's mostly like clinical stuff that we got to update. Marfan syndrome is not going to change year after year. Ehlers-Danlos is still Ehlers-Danlos year after year. It's like the 2CK step 3 stuff we got to like annoyingly update. Like aspirin is apparently no longer used for atrial fibrillation. We like just learned that. Like it's all in my notes. It's probably in like 17 different locations about like aspirin for a low CHAD score. Apparently aspirin isn't even used anymore for AFib. So we have to fucking go find all the places that it's written and like try to edit that stuff. That's the annoying thing about it. And then someone will be like, you wrote here that it's like, I'm like, yes, we know. We know. It's written there. Let me see. Thank you, TS29, for the super comment. Victoria, I dig your personality. Oh my God, what a lovely show you have for all of us. Is this before or after? Like I told you, you're emotionally erratic. This is probably before, right? But you could have retracted that comment, but you didn't. USMLE, is it sure that your high-yield PDFs have no content for the questions of 25 to 31 once you have, I mean, the concepts repeat. Is this about like score inflation again? Like, here we go. This is like very circular, very redundant. Mehlman PDFs, they inflate your score. If you're studying the right stuff, your score is going to go up. Are you going to be worried that your real exam is inflated also? So you take you do Mehlman content, you get high NBME scores. You're worried if they're inflated. And then would you rather sit with Robbins, Harrison's, Kaplan, not get a score increase, and then be like, well, my score's not inflated. And yeah, you're right. You're doing shitty. You know, get a real exam score that's inflated. You're going to be complaining? I've articulated that the basis for that potential concern is it's my fault that my knowledge of the NBMEs is actually too strong. So when I used in the very beginning, when I was writing the PDFs, if there was like a piece of information, I would tell you exactly which NBME I was recalling it from. So rather than just saying like, here's the 5 high yield points, I would tell you NBME 28 this, NBME 21 this, surge form 4 this. And I had to delete all that stuff because people got really, really, really paranoid. I was like, well, I know where it comes from. You know, I'm not just inventing information that I think you should know. It's like, I know it's on surge form 6, this piece of information. And so I felt like I was articulating where it was from, but I've deleted a lot of that stuff. Joy Addy. What are your thoughts on taking step 2 and 3 before applying to the match? And if you think that's good, why wouldn't you? It's mandatory. You would never apply to the match without step 2. Step 3 is optional. It's if your year of graduation is at least a year before. Aditya, if someone is going to start 2CK prep and wants to take tutoring from your site, how many hours do you recommend? How should we select a tutor from your site? Anyone you recommend? We would assign you just to someone who's available. Unless you want to specifically choose someone, we can ask if they're available. In terms of hours, that's for you to decide. Mubarak. I prefer watching videos, but sometimes it's too fast for me to understand and memorize. Andrew Thu. Michael, I bought your Anki. Right now, my step one is a month and a half away. I'm studying AMBOSS, which helps me a lot to understand the concepts, helps me memorize. It's useful in my NBME exams. Is what useful? The Anki or is AMBOSS useful? I mean, the Anki is useful. Nimra, I can't focus on my studies. I'm stressed. I can barely study for an hour or two. I want to pass step one. Currently doing your PDFs, gets distracted quickly. Exactly. And you're asking what to do. Yeah, a lot of you get distracted. If you're trying to learn the PDFs and you get distracted, do the Anki and time yourself. 1 week out from TCK, MA. You're currently a GP in the United Kingdom. You haven't sat step one. USIMG decided to move here for a bit. Is there a question associated with that, MA? Yosef. Are you the one I just blocked like an hour ago, 2 hours ago? I blocked a Yosef like 2 hours ago. There was someone who like DM'd me with like 3 long paragraphs saying like that they thought our Telegram group wasn't as like, they were like complaining that the admin wasn't as interactive as they used to be when the group was smaller. And I was like, just instead of being like very HR, like I'm not very friendly. So I could have been like, that's like, you know, an interesting point. Sorry you feel that way. How can we make the group better? How can we make the group better for you? Rather than saying that, I was like, just go find a different group. And I like block them, remove them. How's that for HR? And then they can go on Reddit and complain. Mehlman's an asshole, all this stuff, right? What would people do without Reddit? You know, you wouldn't have like a hole for people to complain. How can I improve my question reading speed? By just doing more questions. Ishi Noshi. Is there a question? RTC, do you play any video games? No. I haven't played video games since I was like 16. I was like really into video games when I was young. And then when I turned 16, I like stopped instantly. There was no transition period. I just like went from like playing them all the time to like never played a video game again. Around the time I got my driver's license, I never played video games again after that. Aditya, if your step 2 CK would take 6 to 8 months, would adding a tutor cut that to 4 to 5? It depends. It's about accountability. Obviously that helps. It's different for every student. It's hard to just say like yes to that. It's more about accountability. MA, what should I do in this, and how often you're meeting with the tutor? What should I do in the next week? You've been working on Mehlman QBank. Very good decision, MA. This past month, running through incorrects, not trying to match into a shiny specialty, still interested in GP training, aka family medicine. Good. Well, you're doing the right thing, MA. Oxa, NBME was around 65%. You gave step 1 in June, failed. I wanted to restart and plan to take it in December. Will I be able to pass it this time? You did FAU World NBMEs last time. 65 was precarious. 65 on an NBME means you passed by a singular question. So if you failed step 1 in June, it means you probably missed by like a question. This is to a T the reason why I've said you want 3 NBMEs 68 plus before you sit the real thing. 65 is precarious. It's not a good idea to sit getting 65 in NBMEs. You don't want to have that outcome. But you can do Mehlman QBank now. and Mehlmanmedical/PDFs and Mehlman YouTube videos. That's more than enough. Kali, you're the guy that did UWorld 3 times, NBME 25, 60%. How many questions per day, and should you do PDFs on the side? I already answered your question. You're going to switch to Mehlman QBank. UWorld 3 times. Terrible way to prep. What's harder, the MCAT or USMLE step 1? I'd probably say the MCAT. Because like the USMLE, you can just like study the information and like do well. MCAT was like, you had to read bullshit. You had to read about like Mexican art in the 1600s. Like you had to read like, it was like the SATs again. And that like is annoying for a lot of us because we're math smart. So it depends on what your strengths are. But I would say overall, if it's like, you know, $100,000 on the line, and in 2 weeks I have to sit one of those exams again and get above a certain score, I would choose the USMLE. Clearly it's what I fucking do. I guess that makes sense, but like just blindly, if there's someone off the street, I would say the USMLE is a lot easier than the MCAT. Cha-cha. He scored 61% NBME 25 a week and a half ago. And your exam is when? When is your exam? You have to tell me when your exam is. Mazim, is it better to start with a specific system than another? Which one should I give the most time to? Do QBank and untimed tutor random mode, but I've said for the PDFs, the mandatory pass level ones are high yield arrows, endocrine, and path. Do high yield endocrine PDF before you do arrows. Otherwise, arrows will be too difficult for you. So I would do high yield endocrine first, then kind of take a break from that topic, do high yield path, then go back to arrows, do that. But you should be doing all the PDFs. Alma Sanchez, we are from San Pedro Sula too. Yeah. I mean, as I said, I had a girlfriend from San Pedro Sula like 12 years ago. Abdullah, follow up on ADHD. You read notes. What the thing is, you need something to explain first aid to you. You need to read notes after QBanks. Very misguided. Like, whom have you been listening to that you think that that's the way to prepare for USMLE in 2025? Abdullah. Who told you that? Who? Whom are you listening to? Like, which cuck YouTube videos are you watching? That's anachronistic information. It's from an earlier period in time that doesn't apply now. Big D, yes, I remember you from yesterday. On behalf of a colleague, for myself, I get my score released tomorrow. Wish me luck. Mehlman material helped me insane amount to boost my confidence on meeting scores. That's good, Big D. Nasser. Did you know someone is using Mehlmanmedical PDFs in Afghanistan preparing for step 1, question mark? I wonder if you have any advice for me to match an American residency. I mean, there's people kind of in every country using our stuff. Literally every country. What's your advice to match an American residency? Just get good scores. It's pretty standard. 2 CK is the bulk of your application. Being from Afghanistan, I mean, your hurdle is going to be all the visa stuff. Jack, you are so needed in society. Thank you for helping. You deserve every... Okay. Mohammed, taking a break 2 months after failing. Now should I do QBank again? System. Why did you take a break for 2 months after failing is my question. What were you doing for those 2 months? Let me scroll back up. Chat moved. Do QBank in random mode, not systemized. 40 per day with Mehlmanmedical is what I prescribe for you. And if you're very, very poor, you can do the PDFs. But I do think, because they are 11 out of 10, but I think that the Anki is about speed. Chef Lucara, you're in a situation. Is there a situation where you should skip offline, online NBMEs and just sit? The answer is no. You said you did Mehlman content from the beginning of med school, the PDFs, the audio QBank, UWorld, and you got an 80 on your first NBME. Good. Just, you have to do the NBMEs though. All of them. Just do them anyway. I don't care if you're scoring high. Just do them anyway. Siddiqui, I don't know how to say thank you for your patience, understanding of our situation. Julio Alondra Espinosa Boye. Step 1, October 8th. NBME 20, 65.5. NBME 21, 66.5. September 1st. How to review NBME. Read PDFs. Or the wrong answers. You have like just enough time to like do like, you have too much time between now and October 8th to just focus on the NBMEs, but you like don't have enough time to like back out and do QBank. It's like, what are you going to do? QBank for like 2 weeks? So, I mean, you could basically bust out Mehlman Anki. You could do that. You could do Mehlman QBank like you could for like 2.5 weeks. You could. Otherwise, you just got to sit the NBMEs, move your exam up. Because 66.5, it's borderline. You could sit the others, see how you go. And if you're getting 68 plus, you can just sit and move your exam up. But otherwise, if October 8th if you're keeping that date, it's a bit of I don't like that date. So as I said, like 2.5 weeks on Anki, 2.5 weeks on QBank, it's just a little bit weird. I don't like doing like half pregnant study with like a resource. It's like you commit to a resource for like a month or you like don't do it really. Ahmed, if you finished all the videos for systems for step 1 without solving UWorld, and now when you're back to solving QBank, you found much information, what is the best step? It's a weird question, Ahmed. I don't know what you're asking. Bilal, how could you acquire a position for clinical experience in the US? You're going to have to find those connections. I talked about this like 2 days ago. It depends on your ability to travel, because you could email and search through those channels to apply broadly and find those US clinical experiences. Usually it entails paying or doing some sort of a paid observership. Otherwise, you need to like fly to certain conferences, see where, like if there's a program you want to go to, if there's a program director, you can see if they're doing like presentations, conferences anywhere, and you can go to those conferences and meet them and establish connections that way. We're at about the hour mark, so I'm going to wrap this up, but let me just look at some other ones real quick. I'll go out of order. User 2020, I'm going to read your question because you're a member. Your name's green. Everyone else's is gray. Can I pass step 1 by doing high yield, the 4 high yield PDFs? That's for review. That's like a crash review. That's not like something I would lean on, but you can just look at that. Joey, you take step 1 tomorrow. Thoughts? I literally just put out a reel on this today, I think. But that's going to be, if your step one's tomorrow, don't study past lunchtime. You should pretty much like not study today. Just have a chill day and don't eat a lot the rest of the day. Have like a slice of pizza, chamomile tea with milk and honey, watch a movie, go to the gym, just sleep well. Have a chill day the day before your exam. Okay, you don't want to be studying 12 to 14 hours into the night. That's not what you want to do the day before. Never a good idea. You just need to keep it chill. Okay. The study the day before, in theory, is never going to make or break your step one or your step two or three for that matter, because if the study the day before mattered, then it would mean that you're not ready to sit. So just have a chill day. I'll read maybe one more. Sadia, you forgot the rest of your assessments between 20 to 27. Scores are between 60 to 68. NBME 29 was only with 83, and then NBME 30 with 74. Score drop. What is your question? Guys, I'll do more of these.